Great. So first of all, thank you for joining us. My first question, I mean, what's been Canada doing to support Ukraine since the start of the crisis with Russia?
Sorry, you're talking about Ukraine?
Yes.
Since Russia's aggression in the Ukraine, Canada has been a very strong partner with that nation. From the military, we have a company, infantry company in place doing training the Ukrainian forces for some time now. Plus, we have police trainers in the area, and we have also great economic ties with the country.
And with respect to these new battalions, they're moving into the Baltics from the Warsaw Summit. I mean, how do you essentially shore up defenses in the Baltics without stoking paranoia in the Kremlin? How do you balance between the two? And to what extent does this sense of not wanting to stoke this paranoia in the Kremlin factor into decisions on how to factor into defense decisions in the Baltic?
I think it's not that we're creating any situation. The provocations actually come from the Russians' actions, and we are reacting to their provocation, their very serious provocation, whether it's in Crimea, Ukraine, and their very large-scale exercises that they're doing along the border. As NATO and the member states, collective defense is extremely important. What we have demonstrated here as part of our forward enhanced presence, the deterrence is 4 battle groups. In terms of the size itself, is not militarily significant. However, because of multinational organizations of these battle groups shows that that NATO will not just stand by and allow Russia to take these actions without being noticed. So from our decisions as NATO that we've taken, we have 4 nations that has stepped up to take a leading role. Canada is one of them here in Latvia. Very proud of that fact. And other nations are contributing to these battle groups. But keep in mind that while we take these actions in a very open and transparent manner, that we also want to make sure that we keep the dialogue option open. And NATO-Russia dialogue is extremely important, but we want to make sure that it's much more meaningful as well. But we cannot ignore Russia's action that has been taken, and we need to be strong partners with our NATO member states.
At the same time, Canada is among the nations that doesn't meet its 2% commitment on defense budgetary spending. So I mean, to what extent is Canada able to meet these commitments and defend Eastern Europe in the event of a Russian attack without meeting that commitment to NATO?
Well, I think it's not about, for example, whether it's regardless of percentage of this defense spending, each nation has to decide how much money it needs to be spent on defense. Canada will make its commitments on defense. We have a defense policy review that's almost complete, and we will fund our military to the needs of how it fits for Canada. And NATO is a very important part of our defense. It's right in my mandate letter. It's been openly expressed by the Prime Minister. But the output of what Canada does is far more important at the end of the day in terms of not so how much you spend on defense is what you do with it. We spend almost 20% on capital projects. We spend our money on modernizing. We make sure our troops are well trained. But more importantly, we have committed to missions, whether it's as part of the coalition to fight Daesh, or taking a leadership role here in NATO as well, and here in Latvia, and we've done that. So it's about what you do, not about what you spend on. That's a very important message that people should understand about Canada. We have a very high output rate.
And in the West, we've seen that there is a political constituency for people who no longer maybe believe that it's in the interests of Americans or of Canadians or Western Europeans to put troops on the front lines in the Baltics or Ukraine or wherever against Russia. I mean, to what extent do you see that as an internal threat to NATO as an alliance? And I mean, how do you go about making the case that to somebody in Kansas or Manitoba, it's worth kind of putting these troops out very close to Russia in these battalions?
Well, Canadians do understand the importance of Canada's role on the international stage. There is significant support. One thing we openly demonstrate to Canadians is that for exactly what we're doing with regular announcement to Canadians. More importantly, there was a poll that recently out that showed great support for the Canadian military to do more internationally. This is something what Canadians are used to and expect our military to do to help de-escalate situations. And everything that we are doing here is just about that. It's trying to bring reduce conflict in the world, whether it's the direct fight against Daesh in Iraq, taking a leading role here in NATO, and our eventual announcement for peace operations in Africa. These are all international deployments that are supported by Canadians. What Canadians expect is making sure that, one, it's a meaningful contribution that our military is making, and two, making sure that our Canadian Armed Forces are well-resourced and at the same time have the appropriate rules of engagement to be able to do the job that they've been sent there to do.
And to what extent is cyber warfare still a vulnerability in the NATO alliance, and what can be done to address that issue?
Oh, we're very seized with the importance of cyber, and this is an evolving technology and an evolving threat. We have within NATO, our member states, and especially here in Canada, we do have significant resources for this, but we need to be able to work together between all our different nations and making sure all our capabilities are have the right defensive mechanism, and at the same time be able to take action as well. It's a very important field that's going to continue to evolve, and we will invest in the right technology to evolve with it.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Great.